July 3rd. Welcome to Unapologetically Keith. I am Keith K.L. Belvin. Turn that off. Don't need Facebook chopping my joint up. Welcome to Unapologetically Keith. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9:30 to 10 p.m. where I come on and discuss different things connected to relationships, different things connected to crisis, because this is what I do. I am a crisis specialist, someone who has dedicated himself to trying to help other people deal with the crises that come up in their lives. This is what I do, and this is how I show up weekly to be able to offer my support. So thank you for tuning in tonight. So let's do a little housekeeping and get that out of the way. Well, first I want to thank you for showing up. I am streaming on Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube Live. And so I do not get to see who is watching me. So the only way that I'll know that you're there is if you post something in the chat room just to say hello. I would appreciate that. And I will then acknowledge you. And I definitely want you to be involved in the conversation. And so remember, at any time, you can go ahead and post something in the chat room, and I'll definitely acknowledge it as we discuss what we're going to discuss. And I would appreciate that. Now, if you're watching on Periscope, I want you to tap that screen, because what it'll do, it'll see the hearts pop up, and we want to make sure that we add those hearts to what's going on. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure that you make sure that you share this, because somebody in your circle should get to know who I am. I'll try to help them as well. And at the end, hopefully I've given you reason to support. So let's get into what we're going to talk about tonight. And yes, I am a little tired. It has been hectic. And as most of you know, a little over a week ago, my mom passed away, but it is emotionally draining with all the things that are connected to that emotionally. Unfortunately, I'm in Delaware and my family's in New York, so I don't have feet on the ground. Hey, Sister Kim, how we doing? I don't have feet on the ground, so I'm not the person doing all the legwork for the arrangements. My sister is doing that. But let me tell you something. Passing of the head of a family is never a good thing. All right, so tonight we are talking about how to deal with baby mama drama, part 2. And I wanted to take a look at the court system. Yeah, I said it, the courts, the dreaded courts. And this is going to be more towards the men, but ladies, I definitely want to hear from you, because we know that it takes two to tango, and we know that babies are not created on their own. And I think we have to be careful with the language that we use and how we weaponize child support, how we weaponize the courts. Give me what I want, or I'm going to put you on child support. I don't want to get on child support. And you see the men all they start shaking. Oh my God. And women use it as a hammer to get the things that they want. Some women, and I'm not saying all, I'm not speaking in general, saying all women, but a lot of women do. And Kim, is that something that you've heard women say? I'm not, you have, but is that something that you've heard women say, that I'm going to put you on child support if I can't get the things that I want? So, and the reason why I bring that up is because we have to stop allowing ourselves to get so wrapped up and so fearful of things that we wound up becoming a state to a situation. And so with that said, I think what men have to do, and I really believe this, I want to ask this question tonight, because I really believe this is what causes a lot of men problems. So I want to ask this question: can men win in family court? And if you're watching on replay, thank you for joining Watch Play. And this is the question: can men win in family court? And because so many men believe that they cannot win, they don't even bother to see what rights that they have, what can be done, and they often will just take their cues from women as well as other men. Well, here's the problem with that. When you don't take the time to understand what your rights are in reference to your child, you don't give yourself a chance. So I believe One, I really believe that a man can get a fair shake in court, but here's what I want you to understand. All right. So the answer to the question is, can men win in court? Yes, they can. Why? Because I'm proof. I am proof that a man can win in court. Now, if you watched the last show, or you know anything about me from reading my book, From Gigolo to Jesus, I have 7 children with 6 different women. Hold on before you judge me. All that was pretty much before I was 32 years old. Because in the last 20 years, I've been with one woman and I have one child. But when I was younger, I was out here wilding out. I have no problem with admitting that. I have no problem. What's up, Flex? I have no problem discussing that because I want folks to understand it. With that said, I have gone to court 6 times and I have not lost. Yes, I have gone to family court in Virginia and in New York 6 times. I have not lost. 5 times in New York, once in Virginia. I have not lost. The real question is what do you consider winning and what do you consider losing? And men, please pay attention. And sisters, if you're dating a man who's going through some baby mama drama, some child support issues, or you're not sure what to do, I want to show you how family court works. Well, my experience with family court. First of all, I used to work in Manhattan in 2013 for an organization where I was basically a life coach, a life decision coach, where I helped men who were mandated by the courts to only be able to see their children through supportive visits. And so my job was to help develop strategies for them to be able to work on the relationship with the child's mother as well as with the courts. So I used to sit with the magistrates who used to come in once a week and advise us on the social workers and myself on what we could do to help to get the men to understand the role of family court or support enforcement, whichever area of the court that they're going through. And one thing that I found to be consistent in the age group that I worked with, it was men 19 to 40. The one thing I noticed to be consistent was that a lot of them had no idea what their rights were. And many of them were so worried when dealing with the mother that they would pretty much just do whatever. And then some of them was stupid. Let's just keep it 100% real. They were stupid. Because here's the thing. You know you have a child. You're going to pay. That's the first thing I explain to every man. Not only do you know you're going to have to pay, you should pay for your child. Now, how much? Well, that depends on what you and the mother can work out. See, a lot has to do with the type of relationship that you had before you created this child or while you were in the process of creating this child. Unfortunately, many of us as men, hey, what's up, Luck? Of us as men, we act one way when we're trying to get the panties, another way when we're up in the cheeks, and then another way when we find out that she's about to have a child. Really? Like you didn't play a part in that? And we want to put the weight of everything back onto the mother. Unacceptable. So the first thing I explain to men is they understand and take the responsibility that you are about to have a child and start making the arrangements now. And what I mean by that, well, if you and this mother do not have a loving relationship and y'all are boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, you need to start sitting down now while she's pregnant and say, listen, let's do this. I want to make sure that I do all the things for my child like I'm supposed to. Let's put things in place financially right now. Make that offer. Make it in writing. Go get it notarized. I am going to give you $300, $200, $150 every 2 weeks. And every year on my child's birthday, I'm going to increase it. Or every year, whenever your job gives you a raise, I'm going to increase it. Whatever. Put it in writing. Take a copy for yourself. Give it to her. Now, if y'all are on good terms, you give it to her. If she signs it, you sign it. She get a copy of both of your signatures. You get a copy of both of your signatures. And the reason why you do that is now you have proof that you made an attempt to be a good father if you're not going to be there with the mom. Because you don't have to be with the moms to be a father, stand-up father. Now, that's one thing that you can do pre the child being here. Because you know what the biggest problem is with family court? Is that men have to be dragged in to family court. And once you're into family court, they don't know which parent is the bad guy. They don't know which parent is suspect. So here's what they look at. They look at who was the petitioner, who asked the courts for help. That is one of the biggest misnomers mistakes that men make. All right. The courts don't know who the bad guy is. The courts don't know anything about you other than the paperwork that you submit. So a lot of times I tell fathers, you know you're going to pay, right? Take yourself to court. Take yourself to court. Stop leaving this anvil over your head that she's threatening to drop on your head anytime you don't want to do what she tell you to do because she's threatening to go to child support. Now, if you're in New York, it's 17.5%. I don't know what it is in every state. You have to look at it. But if you're going to pay, pay. Because here's the thing. You do get certain rights when you're paying your child support on time. Now, if you take yourself, you become the petitioner. You become the person that instigated everything. The judge speaks to you first. We let our pride and our penis get in the way, Flex. We do. And a lot of men don't realize it. And I always ask men, was you saying all this, acting like this when you was up in it? And if the answer is no, then shut up and let's get to work. Because you can't sit here and try to fake moves and be silly and act stupid and everything else towards the mother of your child when you weren't doing that when you were trying to hump. So take yourself to court. Take yourself to court and say, look, I'm coming because I don't think we can work this out. I made an attempt. Here's what I tried to give her. Show the judge that you made an honest attempt, a financial attempt to put things in place. The mother didn't rock with it. She didn't like it. She didn't sign it, whatever. That can be the foundation of what a judge puts into place. Also, don't try to undercut the child's mother. Don't sit here and try to lowball her and try to hand her pennies because you don't want to pay because it's like, yo, they take too much. Again, was you worried about that when you was in the cheeks? Was you worried about that when you was humping? No. So stop worrying about it now. You're going to pay. Hey, Tiff, how we doing? So if you're going to pay, go to court, put it into motion because now here's what happens. Family court, you're now paying child support, or you can request mediation. You can ask the courts, listen, we're not at odds. We just need somebody to sit down and manage what we do. I've gone through that as well. You sit down with a mediator, the two of you sit down, you discuss what you want, you discuss what you like, you discuss the terms. If both of y'all are in agreement, I don't want the 17.5% because I know that's pretty steep for him. If he's willing to do this, this, and this, and he'll take the child, let's go. Mediator writes all that up, submits it to the judge, both of y'all agree to it. Now it becomes a part of the law. You don't even need a lawyer for that. The thing is that everybody goes to their corner and starts wanting to fuss and fight when you weren't fussing and fighting when you was humping. So men, check yourself and understand that you have to go at this the right way. Here's another thing too that I've learned. And when I tell you that I've gone to court 6 times and haven't lost, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the truth. It's because I always went prepared and I did my homework. I also didn't go in on no rah-rah foolishness. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. And answer every question. Sometimes I raise my hand. May I? Yes, Mr. Belvin. And I ask some questions like my son in Maryland, his mother first of all lied to me that he was living in Virginia the whole time he was living in Brooklyn, 10 minutes from me. I was in Canarsie. He was in Flatbush. Now, anybody that's from Brooklyn know how close that is. I was in Canarsie in the 80s, and he was living off of Church Avenue over in Flatbush in 56th Street. And the whole time she was was lying, saying that he was in Virginia and fussing with me and fighting with me about visitation and everything else. So I was like, you know what, we're going to have to just go to court. And so she beat me to go to court. So she had took me to court in Virginia after all those years. I had to drive all the way down to Virginia, but then I started doing my homework and I did some research, found out I got some papers that I was paying his insurance. And I noticed that he was getting medications filled on Church Avenue. So how is he getting medications filled on Church Avenue if he lives in Virginia? So I called the pharmacy and said, hey, how you doing? You know, you fill my son's prescriptions and I'm the policy owner. He said, hey, how you doing, Mr. Belvin? I said, can you ask me a question? What address do you have down for my son for his medications? Because I don't know if y'all have the right address. You know, I told the story. I think we moved. I want to make sure you have the right address. And they gave me this address on Church Avenue. I said, that's her grandmother's address. And that's when I did some more digging and found out he was living in Brooklyn the whole time. She was lying. So I didn't trip. I didn't flip out. I just wrote all my notes up. When we got down to Virginia, I looked at the affidavit. Got down to Virginia, sat there. Judge talked to her. Judge talked to me and said, why are we here? And she's trying to get full custody. She was trying to take my son from me. So I said, Your Honor, may I ask a question if that's okay? He said, sure, Mr. Belvin. I said, isn't it a Virginia law that states that a child has to live in Virginia for 6 months or more before they're considered a resident? If not, they're a resident of whatever state they were living in before that? He said, yeah, why? I said, sir, no disrespect to the courts, and I don't know why the mom put it on the affidavit that way. My son has only been here in Virginia for 3 months. He hasn't been here 6 months, and we already have a court case in New York. I don't understand how we're here in front of you. And when I seen him glance at his computer screen, and I seen him reading, I was like, And then he looked back at her and said, Miss da-da-da-da, how long has the child been living here? Now, this is what happens when you get nervous. You forget the lies that you tell. Now, she had put on the affidavit he had been living in Virginia 5 years. So when he asked how long she had been living there, she said 2 years. He looked back at the computer screen, and I'm sitting there, and he said, okay, we got a problem here. I'm going to remand you both over to court so we can straighten this out. Yes, I want that because I want the truth to come out. But here's the thing. When we were walking out, I could see that she was nervous. And I had showed up with Tiff. And I had showed up. My sisters were there. And my stepmother, who my father's wife was living in, they live in Maryland. So she works right there in Virginia. So she had came to the court. So I'm sitting there with like 4 women and she came in by herself. And I thought about it. I said, she's overwhelmed and I know she's nervous. So I said, can we talk? And I had been joking and laughing with the female bailiff that was there. I said, you got a room that we can sit in, we can talk? And she said, sure. So my son's mother and I sat down and I said, listen, I don't want to fight with you. And I don't want to lose custody of my son. How can we work this out? And we sat down and I asked Tiff, my wife, were we married then? I don't think we were married then. I think we were. I asked Tiff to come in and I said, I need you to write this down as a witness to everything that we're agreeing to. So we wrote it all out. Tiff wrote it all out. So men, do not be scared to include your new lady with the situation because the baby mama does not control that. And went to the bailiff and said, here, we worked it all out. I wish you could give it to the judge. And the bailiff said, okay. And then the judge came back and said, no, he thought it was in the best interest that both of us remain parents. She didn't like it. She was very upset. But I said, I'm not fighting with the judge. You go fight with the judge. So again, being prepared, being honest, being upfront will help you when you go to court. But understand you're going to pay. You should want to pay. Because by paying, you have rights. You have the right to visitation if your child support is in order. And by not allowing it get to support enforcement where somebody has to drag you into court, that's not a good look. It never is. When somebody has to drag you into court, a judge wants to know how y'all weren't able to work this out. And at that point, just come in, get yourself together, and do the things you're supposed to do to help out. Because if you come in, and I noticed this too, a lot of men come in and they want to try to punk the courts. They speaking real brave, real tough, real whatever. Don't do that. Those bailiffs got guns for a reason, and the judge hears all the foolishness. Here's another thing I realized about family court. Family courts weren't designed to be able to deal with the nasty fathers like me, who I was, when you coming in with multiple babies. And so they can only cut the checks so much because they got to be able to give you a little bit left to live on. So it really is a race. If you have multiple babies, whichever baby mama gets to the courts first, that's the one that's going to get the biggest check. The other baby mamas get a percentage of what's left because they still got to give you a percentage so you don't become homeless. So ladies, if you're dating a man who has multiple children, you better get yourself to court first. Whichever baby mama get to court first, that's the one to get the biggest check. But what I realized is that courts weren't designed to deal with multiple fathers because it's like they expect you to have some type of respect for yourself, some type of decency, because how much can you split when a lot of these guys aren't making enough money? And I just find that the way men come to court and the way people look at the courts. Now, I don't want to be in court any longer than I have to be because it's not a pleasurable place. It is long, it is depressing, and everybody seems to have an attitude, but I get it because everybody's coming down there. They're unhappy, they're frustrated, there's fights and arguments going on. When I was there with my son's mother from Maryland, and she was sitting there the first time, and it was the first time I was actually meeting her mom was in family court. Because she had never seen me. Because when you out hoeing like I was and you create a child on the low, you ain't trying to be seen by too many people. So her mother had never seen me. She just heard about me. I walked over to her and said, I apologize that we're meeting like this. And that was the first time I had seen my son was at court. But I apologized to her mother that we have to meet under these circumstances. And I was in Manhattan and Judge Judy was in the next courtroom over. And when she came out yelling and screaming at somebody, I was praying I didn't have to have her as a judge. Now I didn't, but thank God, because she is that, what you see on TV is not an act. She was legit with hers. I was scared to death. I was like, woo. But over the years, what I've come to learn in trying to help men understand is that you have to take responsibility of your situation. You have to look at the fact that you need to put things into motion. So let me just back up a second so you understand what I'm saying. When it comes to family court, make sure that you, one, do some research. Make sure that you have an idea of what you're taking yourself to court to do. Know that you're going to have to pay. So if you can't work that out with her ahead of time and put some things into place legally, because if you can set it up legally, you're good. But if not, then let the courts go ahead and do what they're going to do, because then you have certain rights. Also, I want to give you this too. Don't be scared to do your research in terms of looking up fathers' organization. There are fathers' rights organizations all over the U.S. Now, this link right here, the verywellfamily.com, but this is the whole link. So you can write it down just like this. It'll take you to a list of all the fathers' rights groups in the country, because there is no excuse for you not to know your rights. Now, if you can afford a lawyer, pay for one. But if you can't, it makes no sense to go to court and not have an idea of what's going on. It really doesn't. Often baby mama drama is because neither wants to take the step of saying, let's quell this. Get more honey with vinegar. Humble yourself. If you can. A lot of men don't know how to do that because it all depends on how they put it into motion, Flex. I agree with you if you can humble yourself, but some men, because they chose the wrong woman to impregnate, it's a struggle. Well, you got to pay the price. You laid there, you have to pay it. But at the same time, what's the end goal? Stop trying to get over, because you're not going to get out of not paying. Some men do, but you're going to pay in the long run, because then when she don't want you to see the child and you're yelling and screaming about visitation, well, you screwed yourself, because if you're paying your child support and you're the petitioner, you're not going to have any problem when you go down to the visitation part and put in for the notice for that, because they're going to see that you're in good standing. Now, like I said, I've gone through this. Now I'm let's see, today is July, the half of the year. I am down to my last 6 months with my second to last child. So as of January, I am done. I've already finished with my other two sons from my marriage. I'm done. But I don't stress. I'll be happy to get the little extra $500 back. That's all it is now. I think it's $538, almost $600. That's it. And the one thing is I don't miss payments. And anytime a payment is delayed or whatever, I jump right on it to make sure that that money is there because it's for my child. Now, the parents need to take themselves out of the equation. Yes, they need to. And that's the hard part, Flex, is that requires both to come to the table and humble themselves, like you said. And that's the very difficult part for a lot of parents, is to let the emotion of the situation that created the child, pushing it to the side and say, what can we do that's in the best interest of this child? And unfortunately, children are collateral damage. And ladies, let me say this before I get off. I might hang around for a little while tonight. Stop saying, I'm not going to court. I ain't going to take him to no child support because I don't want his money. It's not his money. If you're straight and you're good, take him to court and put that money in a trust for your child. Put it up so if anything that he or she wants later on in life, that money is there. And unless you have a working agreement with the father, if you have a working agreement with the father, then put the money up. But if you got some deadbeat who's like, I'm not paying, I don't want to go to court because I don't want that headache. What? Listen, if that cat ain't paying you, call me. I'll come drop off the summons. Because he needs to pay for that child, because that is money that's going to be that sneaker money, that's clothes money, that's supplies money for school, that's organization money if he wants to, or he or she wants to play ball or do anything. Man, listen, and if you're straight and well off, put it up. Buy Nike stocks, buy mutual funds, take the money and invest it so when the child is older, they can go to college without ever having to touch anything. Set up a stash app and just simply take the child support and drop it into your stash app. Get your child a ton of stocks and just let it rock. But don't leave that money on the table because you don't want that initial headache. You only got to go to court 2, maybe 3 times. That's it. And you ain't even got to serve him or her, whatever. Oh, no, be him. You ain't even got to serve them if you don't want to. Most courts will supply somebody to come bring the summons to them. All you got to do is show up and tell your side of the story. So I hope this information helps. It was something that I just was thinking about because, Tiff and I, when Tiff wrote the article, it's actually right over my shoulder here, up there it is. When Tiff wrote the article for Ebony Magazine, and it says Overcoming Baby Mobbing Drama, it is because Tiff and I sat down and figured we're not going to allow my past to affect our future. And we also wasn't going to allow it to affect our happiness. And so it was something that we really dealt with. Now, Monday, I'm going to discuss how you deal as a father with multiple baby mamas. What you can actually do. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to work because I don't know who your baby mamas are, but I'm going to give you some techniques that I use that help me be able to put things into perspective and into place that allow me to be able to deal with my situations without finding that I needed to drink an extra 5th every weekend and to still have some relationship with most of my children. I don't have a relationship with all of them because as they get older and as things happen, that's another thing too. Understand that when you have multiple children, it ain't going to turn out like the Brady Bunch of the Cosbys all the time. And you got to be prepared for that. And you got to just be prepared to answer some hard questions when they get older and they want to know why certain things happen. You got to be prepared to answer those. And I don't have a problem with it, because that's the thing, is that you have to own what you do. You have to stand up and be ready to answer their questions if you weren't there. Because the one thing that you got to realize, and we'll talk more about this on Monday, the one thing that you cannot be to children when you have multiple children is there all the time. Can't do it. So you can't be the father that you like to think you are. You can't be the American winning dad because you just can't be there. There's always going to be, when there's more than one child, and if there's more than 2 children, there's always going to be that opportunity that one is going to lose out and not get as much time as the others. And the more, and as you add to that mix, the worse it gets. It's hard enough if you and the mother are not together with one child. You start adding multiple childs to the mix, it's difficult. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's extremely difficult. And then there's going to be some very yeoman's work done by the mothers. And shout out to all the mothers that had to raise children without the assistance of a steady father in their lives. Too many of them out there. I think it was 15 million was the stat that I looked up, and 3 million single fathers. So shout out to anybody having to raise their child by themselves. It's not easy, male or female. It's not easy. All right, and there's a lot of things that go into it. I wish we could change it. So again, I want to say thank you. I'm a little tired tonight, just a little. But here's the thing. As always, if you know somebody, male or female, who needs somebody to talk to that's dealing with this issue, needs some help with this issue, you're getting ready to go to court and need to know what to say and do, reach out. Let's talk. bit.ly/talk with KL, because I can explain to you what I did. I can explain to you what works for me. I don't guarantee anything. What I can guarantee you is that we can sit down together and come up with a great game plan that you can walk into court and be okay. One of the first things I'm going to ask is, have you tried to work it with the mother? And I mean, really get into it, not just, I asked that. No. Have you sat down and tried to? And if your answer is yes, then we'll go from there. If the answer is no, we'll figure it out. But I'm here. bit.ly/talk with KL. And the reason why is because we need somebody to talk to. We need somebody to bounce things off of. I see a lot of dudes coming to court. Like, you got to learn to not try to intimidate your mom, the baby mother, when you're in court. The bailiffs actually pay attention to that. And so if you're eyeballing her, you're looking, don't do that. It gets reported back to the judge. You're in a bad spot. Don't do that. Come in, sit away from where you are, but just make sure you can hear when they announce your name. Come in, check. Well, we can talk about it. But you come in, you check in, let them know you hear, but make sure that you sit where you're in earshot of them calling your name. When they call your name, do not make eye contact. If you and the mom are on speaking terms, yeah, go speak to her. But if y'all not, leave her alone. You come in, ask them, where would you like me to sit? Sit down, look forward, and sit up. And dress casual. Don't come in like you dress to the nines, and don't come in like you could care less that you're in court. Dress very business casual. Sit with your shoulders back. Sit up. Look straight ahead. Look the judge in their eye. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And sit up. Separate yourself from the wild animals that's going to come through the door and say, I ain't trying to hear you. I don't care what the judge, it ain't enough for me. Shut up. Come in and be prepared to do a man's business. And if you already know what to expect, nothing really comes as a shock. Because like Flex said, it's about the child. And if you make it about the child and you prepare yourself and prep the right way, you'll be okay. All right, guys, listen, I am going to get ready to go. My brother is tired. It's been a long week. I got to clean my office because I got to get rid of some things. I got a new course that I'm starting next week. Also, I got my new, my mentor group starts back up virtually. So I got to get ready for that next Thursday. And I do want to say this as we reach Friday. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Tiffany, Flex, Kim, I don't know who else is on today. Lucky I saw you pop in tonight. I want to thank you guys because I think every night, except for one night, I didn't have anybody on. Well, I didn't see anybody in the chat room. There might have been people on. And I just appreciate you taking the time out to rock with me, because you don't have to. And I'm trying to show up, and I'm trying to be here to make myself a resource to brothers and sisters that need me. And it is interesting because when you make this commitment, you realize how you shape your day changes, so you can get enough time to make sure that I can put all the captions in and make sure everything is in place, so I can present a halfway decent show to you guys. So I hope that you are enjoying yourselves. I hope that you're enjoying the time that you come and spend with me. I appreciate you. Please be safe. Have a wonderful 4th of July if that's what you celebrate. I don't, so it's just another day to me. But if you celebrate the 4th, God bless you. But please just be safe. If you're handling fireworks, be smart. You need those fingers. But if anything else, right now, it's real dangerous right now in the country, the way things are. Try to stay close to home if you can. But if you got to get out and do what you got to do, just be safe. All right. Thank you again for all the support. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night and a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I will talk to you soon. God bless, guys.